thought I was having a nightmare, then I woke up and I kind of realized I was living the nightmare.
A living nightmare for thousands.
And it was just whitewater rapids coming down the road.
The mud in there was up to the top of the door.
Caused the floor to cave in. This truck was sitting right here when we started.
Helene barreled into western North Carolina in late September.
The devastation that I've witnessed is hard to describe. Homes and businesses flooded and destroyed, roads and bridges completely washed away.
Death, damage, and devastation left behind.
In this immediate vicinity, there was 12 bodies recovered.
There was 2 little kids in there like this. A little boy this tall and a little girl down there, dead. I ain't slept in 4 days count of it. I can't.
Now we bring you the heartbreak and resilience in the mountains nearly 90 days after Helene.
For the next hour, we'll share stories from these communities as the long journey to recovery begins.
Everything that you know is gone, just completely gone.
Thank you for joining us for our special coverage, Helene, 3 months later. I'm Justin Quisenberry.
And I'm Nick Buffo. Torrential rain, flooding, and landslides hitting communities across the mountains. Helene claimed lives and caused billions of dollars in damage.
Over the course of the next hour, we'll take you back to some of the cities, towns, and areas where we've traveled since the storm hit. We start where we are here in the heart of Swannanoa, one of the places now tasked with rebuilding.
But first, we do want to take a moment to acknowledge the horrible loss of more than 100 North Carolinians. They were mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, friends, and family.
They were the firefighter and his nephew trying to rescue neighbors after a landslide.
The mother and her 2 children buried in the mud.
The 11 family members swept away when the ground above them gave out.
And the loving couple, just weeks away from their anniversary, now leaving behind a son on a mission to track down the broken pieces of their family home.
You know, while I was covering the aftermath of Helene here in the Swannanoa Valley where I grew up, I learned about James and Judy Dockery. I went to school with their son, Bruce, and he shared with me his story and his heartbreaking race to try to get to his parents.
It was all mud.
Bruce Dockery has traveled these roads around the Grovemont community of Swannanoa all of his life, but never with this much destruction.
Yeah, all this was blocked off the other day.
Never with this heavy of a heart.
As long as I can go into pure logic and I can talk about things and go into logic mode, I'm all right. It's when I get into the other side that things get a little rough.
It's hard to take in and be logical about what happened here, though. A landslide swept away the mobile home where Bruce grew up and where his parents, James and Judy Dockery, still lived. Bruce recalls the agonizing moments, the unknown, and the difficulty of getting here after Helene hit.
Nobody had signal. The phone systems were just down. And my phone started blowing up. And my uncle from South Carolina called me and told me about my dad. Said they had found my dad and the house place was gone. I said, I've got to go. And they said, you do what you got to do. And I couldn't get back to Swannanoa. And all we knew is that my dad hadn't made it and we couldn't find my mom. There were literally entire trailer parks sitting in the road. The road was just gone. I finally managed to get on the interstate and the bridge at Beacon was gone, so there was absolutely no way to get in. Every back road had a small bridge and every bridge was destroyed. Finally parked at one of the destroyed gas stations and I climbed a tree and went across one of the wrecked bridges and was walking through the woods when I heard that my mom hadn't made it either.
What did you do at that moment?
Sit on a log and cry. And pray and cry and pray.
Driving here may be easier now, but emotionally, it's still hard.
I'll admit, when I saw their headboard and their mattress, I just had to hit my knees and cry. Down here is essentially my mom and dad's bedroom and part of their kitchen.
It come all the way from up there.
From all the way up there. And when it came down, their house, part of it landed here, part of it landed here. and the force pushed this house into these people's house.
As Bruce showed us around, we met Jesse Bryant.
This joker is the one that found Daddy and dragged him out and then sat with Mama until help got here.
Until they got here, finally. But I spent every last second with James, and we did try. We really tried.
Bryant is a neighbor and Dockery family friend.
Because all of this was so rubbled up, there was no way in or out of either way besides just to carry him. And we found a piece of board up here, and we put him on that, and 4 other guys, we put him on our back and carried him out of here. And it was a very long hike. It was a very long hike.
They got him all the way to the women's prison.
He held all the way in until, about the end of the road. I feel like I got a good solid yes that Judy was out here out of him, and that's about all we could get out of him. And so then that's why I couldn't give up looking for Judy, because I knew she was out here somewhere.
Bruce's parents died just about 2 weeks shy of their 44th wedding anniversary.
I don't believe Judy felt a thing.
No.
I think that impact just, and they went on to heaven together.
Yeah.
And they're together. They didn't have to spend a day on this crazy earth without each other.
That's my mom and dad and me at Easter a couple of years ago.
Bruce and his parents shared a deep faith that's helped him in these days and weeks since the storm.
I think I would have went mad if it wasn't for knowing God's promise and just feeling the peace, because my parents lived their faith. I know where they're at. I know my parents are safe. I know I've been joking, they're sitting there eating fried chicken with St. Peter. I'm not worried about it. And from now on, it's just a new beginning.
Now, as the small creek that swelled into a destructive force of nature trickles through his family's home place, Bruce is left only with memories.
We had the tool shed, Mama's car, Daddy's truck, and that old horse barn was all up there, and it's all gone. Most of the stuff that was down there at the very, very bottom was right here, was on this end, and it went straight down.
He's still discovering material pieces of their lives.
And that's my uncle.
It was on the road down here.
Thanks to the kindness of people he doesn't even know.
I was Judy and James's son.
Oh, honey.
We witnessed that moment.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh, well.
And this one. A
Right,
man
but then
found a
he had
guitar
Les
that had
Paul,
belonged to Bruce's dad.
I saved it, and I want to bring it back to you guys.
Oh, wow.
The case is completely destroyed, but I want you guys to have it.
His Les Paul, you found it.
I got it. I didn't want anybody to steal it. Put your information in there. I'm here till Friday.
That is incredible.
Among the items Bruce has found, this chalk drawing.
Totally unhurt through all this rain and water. Road to heaven, it was, it's got a little damage, but to be in the mud and the rain and the flood, and it's a chalk drawing.
A tangible sign of his parents' faith and journey.
They made that road. They traveled it. They got to the end.
And now here we are almost 3 months after Helene, and Bruce is on a path, on a road to figuring out life without his parents. I appreciate you taking time to talk with us now. How are you doing?
Doing well. Good support network, leaning on my faith and getting by.
Getting by the best you can. We're here near one of the bridges that you had to cross to try to get into your parents after the storm hit. And obviously you see there's a lot of work still to be done. What about the work that still needs to be done for you and the site where your parents lived?
Well, the neighbors who actually took a lot worse have cleaned up, and one of the neighbors actually cleaned up the majority of what was left. Didn't ask, but they were trying to clean up their property, so I totally understand, and it made life easier on me, saved me a lot of money, but we're still trying to figure things out.
Last I talked with you, you were thinking about maybe having their funeral here in the month of December. I know that's your dad's birth month. What have you decided about that?
Well, there's people in this valley that are still trying to decide whether to fix the hole in the floor or the hole in the roof or to buy their kids Christmas, and people are struggling. So I'm going to wait till the Christmas season is over and people have figured out their housing situations before we do anything like that.
You are always selfless, Bruce. That sounds just like you, looking out for other people. But you mentioned the Christmas season. We talked a lot about you and your parents' faith. I'm just curious how this time of the year is for you now.
Well, like with Thanksgiving, I had family to look after me and make sure I wasn't alone. And what's really bothered me is hearing certain Christmas songs. I'll be home for Christmas. There's no place like home. Those sort of Christmas songs have really hit hard.
Well, my thoughts and my prayers continue to be with you, and I know so many people as well. Thank you for taking time to let us know how you're doing.
Thank you.
Nick, back to you.
Those first few holidays certainly can be tough. Justin, thank you. When our special coverage continues, we retrace our steps here in Swannanoa and across the region, looking at the devastation that Helene left behind as the trail to recovery begins. We'll be right back. Welcome back. In the nearly 3 months since Helene hit, we traveled to various communities dealing with the unimaginable. And Justin, I know that you traveled to the Bee Tree neighborhood in the following weeks since the storm, and the damage there was just utterly devastating. What does it look like now?
Nick, I'm here in the Bee Tree community of Swannanoa. This is a community I've known my whole life. Generations of my own family have called this area home. This was one of the worst hit areas of Buncombe County. It's just downstream from the Bee Tree Lake Dam, which is a water source for the city of Asheville. And along the river, you can see how washed out it is all these months after Helene hit. Trees are down. And as we walk along the road, this was once covered with dirt. Dust was everywhere in the air. And lining this road still, we see trees down. It's a little more organized, but you can tell destruction is still everywhere. This is an area that people are still working to rebuild. We see crews out and about here as we approach 3 months since Helene hit. Some people still can't access their homes via the bridges. They were washed out. And this right here is one of the symbols, I guess you could say, of the Bee Tree community. This is Bee Tree Christian Church. It's been around for more than 150 years. This sanctuary is all that's left. The storm washed away the fellowship hall. This building was built in the 1960s, and you can see inside of it right here. You can still see some pews in there, but this front of the church just opened up after the storm. And look at this creek running right in front of the church. This used to actually run behind the church. And so there's a lot of planning that's going to have to go into trying to figure out the next steps for the church. We do know if they rebuild, they're going to have to raise the church up off of the ground because of the water here in the area. And the church trustee, one of the trustees from the church, tells me that they're looking to other churches who have gone through something similar on how they move forward. It's a tough time for the church. They even lost a church member in the storm. And for now, they're holding services nearby Grovemont in Swannanoa. Nick, back to you.
Justin, thank you. You know, seeing those pews sitting still inside that church, surrounded by the devastation, quite striking. Definitely making some progress, but certainly have a long way to go. We want to take you now from here in Swannanoa to Newland, the county seat of Avery County. That's about an hour-and-a-half drive from here. Newland is known for its pine trees, especially this time of year, but it's also a community still dealing with so much devastation left behind from Helene. And as we now face colder months of the year, our Courtney Davis spoke with the mayor there, who is sharing his concerns for his own community.
Standing on the street in downtown Newland looks like every other mountain town in December. A sprinkle of leftover snow plowed to the side and Christmas decorations hanging from street lamps and businesses throughout town. But the minute you turn off the main road, you see a much different scene. Debris and work trucks line the streets, and houses like Mayor Derek Roberts are still covered by tarps 3 months after Helene.
Yeah, we're completely under tarp on at least 40% of our house.
Robert's home sits across the street from a creek. As the storm rolled in, he says he and his family were watching the water levels, not thinking of the swaying trees that line their hilly backyard.
There's also a tree that came through right here, and water just started pouring in. So this whole area literally was just water.
Now, Roberts and his family live in a hotel.
Every day we get up, and rather than wondering what we're going to do for dinner that evening, just get our day done, we're, okay, are we meeting the plumber, the propane guy, the contractor? Is the contractor going to show up?
And the rebuild hasn't been easy. Robert says it's become increasingly difficult to get supplies or even a contractor. He's had 3 contractors on his own home project.
The few that are up here are so covered up, they will tell you, I cannot even talk to you until March of next year. Well, me and my wife can't live in a hotel until March of next year.
Still, he says he's one of the lucky ones.
Some people still have trees stuck on their houses. There's some people that still trying to find a chainsaw to clean their driveway, which is kind of, shocking to me because we are so far out.
Something Robert says he feels like people down the mountain don't realize.
My sister from Texas reached out today and was, hey, how are y'all doing? And I saw y'all got snow, y'all skiing. I'm like, skiing? Woman, I'm trying to get my house put back together. What do you mean by skiing? No, we're still living in a mess.
As the weeks and months have passed, Robert says rebuilding efforts across town have been very slow.
Frankly, the government agencies fell short. They were not directing people to where they needed to go with the right equipment.
The biggest help he says they've seen has come from neighbors helping neighbors, or volunteer groups like Samaritan's Purse.
There's been folks that I haven't talked to in 20 years that have come up and shook my hand and said, hey, what do you need?
But he says the progress his neighbors have made in the last 3 months is disheartening.
It seems like it's getting slower by the day.
Slowing down even more as winter rolls in.
The issue is for us is nobody can see when is this going to get better. Every time you think, okay, well, they finally cleaned all the debris off this road, the next day it's right back out there. Or there's snow, 4 inches of snow, yeah. 2 weeks ago we had 4 or 5 inches of snow. So it's another cataclysm of crap that you've got to deal with.
And without more resources or outside help, he fears it will take not months, but years to return to normal.
It just doesn't stop, and I don't know how it's going to.
Courtney, thank you. And as you just saw there, work continues to reopen, repair, and revitalize communities across the region. NCDOT says Helene was the worst storm it's ever seen in terms of road and bridge damage. To date, the agency reopened more than 1,100 damaged roads. Hundreds still remain closed, though. Meanwhile, work continues to reopen Interstate 40 to Tennessee, which should happen around the new year. NCDOT plans on 1 east and 1 westbound lane with a reduced speed limit, reconnecting North Carolina and Tennessee.
We're very accustomed to responding to cut slope failures on the interstate here, so rock slides and stuff like that. This is a completely different type of failure for this corridor of roadway. A fill slope failure this long and this extensive is not something that we've ever seen before.
All public school districts in the region are now reopened. It took some counties like Buncombe and Watauga several weeks to return to operations. Yancey County was the last to reopen on November 18th. To date, the General Assembly has set aside $65 million for various support and rebuilding needs in those schools. And several infrastructure and utility projects are ongoing, while the boil water advisory was lifted and full water service was returned to Buncombe County last month. Other counties continued, though, to deal with long-term infrastructure damage, including areas like Chimney Rock, Mitchell County, and others.
Straight ahead, Helene left a permanent mark on lives and businesses here in the heart of Swannanoa. We'll show you what things look like now, almost 3 months after the storm, including an automotive shop I first visited about a week and a half after the storm. Hope you stay with us. We're coming right back. Welcome back. We're in Buncombe County along Highway 70 in Swannanoa, next to the Swannanoa River, looking at how things have progressed in the 3 months since Helene hit. So much was destroyed here. I stopped into Harper's Automotive about a week and a half after the storm and found cars smashed and buried. They remain here just about as they were. A van clung to the riverbank in the weeks after Helene, resting against a utility pole. That van has since been removed. The building's roof here had collapsed last time I was here, and you can see that's still the case. The owner of the building tells me he's still navigating possibilities and options. He said decisions will be made on it hopefully in January. He owns about half a dozen properties along Highway 70 here, and he has said that everything else is moving pretty slowly. As much cleanup as there has been, so much still remains. And we've even seen people living along the riverbank in tents and campers as we enter these winter months. Nick, back to you.
Just incredible to still see the devastation that Helene did to so many areas across western North Carolina. But the storm also showed North Carolina at its best, something outgoing Governor Roy Cooper reflected on following the storm.
If you ever lack faith in humanity, you need to just spend a day in a disaster area.
I mean, we have seen it with our own eyes now for months now. Donations and money pouring in from all across the state and nation. As of last month, Cooper said more than $14 million had been donated to the state's disaster relief fund. And that doesn't include the donated goods, equipment, and labor that we have seen across these areas the last roughly 3 months. Our David Ivey shows us a community here in the Swannanoa Valley, just about 2 miles up from the road here, that is helping out its own neighbors.
Words are hard to come by when explaining what it's like to see this kind of damage in person. Now imagine what the pain must be like for people who have lived here. Thankfully, the people there are not forgotten.
How many miles do you think you've walked over the last few weeks?
He was just saying yesterday that he was getting 16 miles a day on here.
Jason A. Ward is doing a whole lot more than walking each day.
Same tarps, if you are here, will go back on top this
He and an army of volunteers are heading up Valley Strong Relief. Every day, they're collecting supplies here at the main camp at what in normal times would be the old Silverado's music venue near Black Mountain. That's changed because of Helene. This is a recovery hub now. They've had people from all over the country bringing in supplies and coming to help whatever way they can.
Ever since it started, there's been so many blessings. There's so much tragedy and so much destruction, but the people have came through, and there are so many good people in the world.
The red trailer has sleeping bags, tents, and boots.
They've collected many supplies brought in by people coming from all over the country. In the short time I was there, cars never stopped coming into the entrance, and they're keeping everybody who works out of here fed and ready to go out and work every day.
Everything we ask for, it's here. A lot of people are even in each other's way sometimes, and that's a good problem to have, but they don't care. People will go and say they need something, or somebody will say they need something, and then someone will go and it's already covered.
Ward has lived here all his life. His family runs a successful hemp farm. He says seeing beautiful views like this every day is what makes living in the mountains wonderful. But close by, people are still suffering. And anyone who calls this area home knows firsthand the destruction Helene brought. That's motivation enough to keep going.
You never know how much you love your town. You never know how much you love your town until something like this happens. And it's a gut punch. That's the way you can put it. But I don't know, we've just been digging ourselves out.
I went to school with Jason, who you just met there in David's story. It's great to see all the work that he and others are doing. And Jason is posting updates frequently on his public Facebook page about the work that he and others are doing there at Valley Strong Disaster Relief at Silverado's. In the next half hour, we take you to one of our state's most popular tourist attractions, as the economy of this region and others like it will need your help to get back on its feet. From the falling leaves to the poured pints, Western North Carolina needs you to come back. Hope you stay with us.
An emotional few months dealing with the destruction from Helene.
It's a mental challenge.
Now, communities are trying to figure out what comes next.
FEMA says that I probably should just tear it down, but I really don't want to tear it down because I've lived here all my life and we built that old house.
We're in the mountains this half hour, sharing more stories of heartbreak and resilience after the storm.
Welcome back to our special coverage, Helene, 3 months later. I'm Justin Quisenberry.
And I'm Nick Buffo. In this half hour, we are here in Asheville's Biltmore Village. It's where we saw some of the most iconic images from Helene's flooding.
The pictures and the videos we saw were devastating, and they match the widespread destruction we've seen across the western part of the state. Devastation reached a number of counties, and one of those hard-hit spots is the town of Canton in Haywood County.
I went to the banks of the Pigeon River, and that's where I met with a store owner who told me he is now facing an uncertain future after the second storm in 3 years has now torn apart his livelihood. Here is his story.
15,000, 19,000.
Like a fast-speaking auctioneer,
8,000 underwater, gone.
Tom Wilson verbally slaps a price tag.
Here's a shirt machine, that's 15,000. Right behind you there, that does 90 to 100 shirts an hour, gone. 75,000.
On every piece of equipment he's lost.
And I'm looking at a loss of over $1 million out of pocket.
Wilson is the owner of American Cleaners in Canton, a town staple for nearly 80 years that was taken over by floodwaters during Helene.
If you look above the door there, about 2 inches from the ceiling is the height of the water.
Wilson bought the building in 1988, and he's been through his fair share of devastating flood events. 2 in 2004 after Ivan and Francis, and again in 2021 after Fred. But Wilson says the damage caused by Helene is irreversible.
I've had to declare bankruptcy, which I never thought I would have to do in my lifetime.
At 86 years old, Wilson is now drowning in financial debt and shutting down his store that used to be filled with the sounds of dry cleaning machines and a constant stream of lively customers dropping off and picking up clothes.
To see that business just totally vanish and not being able to meet your obligations that you had settled on in the past. It's a mental challenge.
American Cleaners is one of several businesses near the Pigeon River in Canton that took a direct hit from the flooding. Wilson tells me some of his neighbors are working to come back, something Wilson has been able to do in the past. But this time, he says he's simply out of money.
Hopefully someone will come along and buy my building for what, I don't know. Junk, $2,000.
As he searches for answers, Wilson says he's trying to iron out his future, which he hopes involves his two favorite things, work and people.
As long as the good Lord lets me stay on this earth, I want to try to be productive.
Nick, such an incredible story there, and something we're seeing across the region of people trying to pick up the pieces of their businesses and their livelihoods.
And that's right, especially for this gentleman here who, imagine at 86 years old, now filing for bankruptcy. It's a time in someone's life they're supposed to be settling down. And so just a heartbreaking story for him, but encouraging there towards the end. You heard that no matter what, he still wants to get back out in front of people and do the work he loves the most.
These types of stories, just a small example of the widespread economic impact Helene will have on the region. Asheville and Buncombe County's well-known brewing scene is on the brink of significant change after the storm. Several brewers told our Tim Boyum it will be hard to recover and survive after fall tourism dried up. One business owner with New Origin Brewing says they'll need help to survive.
The hope is that some form of assistance comes in where that can bridge that gap between this and a business that's operating, a business that can support employees and families and get back to what we were doing.
And in an update, Tim tells us that the owner of New Origin Brewing says their insurance claim was largely denied. A GoFundMe for it has raised about $100,000. Meanwhile, other breweries are facing a tough road ahead as well, deciding if they should or even can reopen. Beer making is one of the region's biggest industries, accounting for nearly $1 billion in economic impact for the Asheville metro area. After the break, we are taking a closer look at what we remember seeing from this area right after the storm hit.
And breaking down the science behind Helene, how it could help prepare and respond to future storms.
Welcome back to our special coverage. Our team has been traveling to areas like the Biltmore Village for months now. In fact, just a few weeks after the storm devastated this historic neighborhood, I was here to cover a press conference with U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson, who was here at the time surveying the damage with several government officials. That press conference was actually held just across the street from where we're standing right now, in front of the entrance to the famous Biltmore estate. At the time, that parking lot you see there was still covered in mud. The press conference was being held in front of a giant pile of debris. As you can see, that mud has since cleared out of the way and that debris has been removed. The Biltmore estate, in fact, now fully back open, celebrating its annual Christmas at Biltmore event. It's when you get across the street where you still see the remnants of Helene, gutted out historical buildings and some road closures, although this road that we are standing near right now was still shut down with a giant pile of debris, mud covering this road as well. As you can see, of course, that has all been cleared out, the road now fully back open. But there are just so many buildings, so many businesses and business owners whose future remain unclear. Businesses like this historic McDonald's that you most likely have been to if you visited the estate. It was once dubbed the world's fanciest McDonald's. Unfortunately, now boarded up and a metal fence wrapping around the perimeter, as the future for this building remains unclear. And so many other buildings are still gutted. It looks like the devastation just occurred yesterday. So while some progress has been made in areas like the Biltmore Village and like in Swannanoa, still a very long way to go till we see a full recovery and this area bustling once again. Do want to send it over to our Justin Quisenberry, who is in another part of Biltmore Village surveying more damage. Justin?
Nick, thanks for that. It's such an iconic spot here in Asheville and the mountains, and I've got so many personal memories in Biltmore Village. It's tough to see it that way. But unfortunately, Biltmore Village is just one of the hundreds of spots across the mountains seeing this kind of damage, and you can describe it any number of ways. Breathtaking, terrible, devastating, take your pick. But while some of us survey in shock, experts are surveying to get into the science of Helene and what it did. Our Lee Ringer takes us to the home of a landslide victim who recalls the power of Helene's might. And while he's there, a scientist shows up working to prevent future landslides from wrecking lives.
Oh, I thought I was gone. I went to pray.
Eddie Dotson has lived in the Fairview community of Buncombe County all his life. On the morning Helene hit, he went outside to check on his classic car collection. Then, in an instant, his life changed.
It sounded like a freight train come off that mountain when it turned them trees and all that stuff loose down through here.
The heavy rains from the storm created a landslide that initially pinned Dotson between two cars while severely damaging his home.
So I grabbed a step ladder and went up there and got my girlfriend out of the house because I thought everything was going in the creek. And we headed on up on the mountain here.
They spent around an hour and a half outside before the rain stopped.
Trees started blowing, falling around and stuff up there. So it's scary, man.
And I'm looking at the soil that's sitting on top of that rock.
We heard their story while geologist Jennifer Bauer was surveying the damage around their home.
Just the amount of destruction that this mud and boulders and trees that can be 20, 30 feet high can cause when they're moving down these valleys at 30 miles an hour is really impressive.
Bauer owns Appalachian Landslide Consultants and has been studying landslides in our state for most of her career. She describes Helene like many other scientists, historic.
Typically it's about 5 inches of rain in 24 hours that can trigger landslides. We had in some places up to 30 inches of rain.
She is one of several geologists mapping the landslides that occurred in the storm. Bauer says many appear to have occurred where landslides have happened in the past.
If we have an inventory of them showing where they've happened, then we can inform people about that, and then maybe they can make decisions about where they want to put their homes, where they want to be during storm events.
It'll take time, and I'll have to replace them facial boards where the deck jerk them holes in them.
That will help Dotson and many others with the tough decisions that lie ahead.
If I can get built back, I mean, FEMA says that I probably should just tear it down, but I really don't want to tear it down because I've lived here all my life and we built that old house.
Rebuilding from Helene will be a difficult process that will continue for months and in some cases, years.
It's just my faith and belief in the Lord. He's getting me through it. I just have to pray to him, ask him to help me every day.
That's a fascinating and heart-wrenching story there on how these storms and all that water can literally move mountains.
And the geologist that you just met there in that story, Jennifer Bauer, is one of many scientists and weather experts that are surveying these areas to try to get every bit of insight to better prepare for future storms.
Lee caught up with one of the students in our state who might one day be doing work like Jennifer, tracking and analyzing storm data to keep others safe.
Lee visited the North Carolina School for Science and Math in Morganton to see why these young people are taking an interest in tracking the climate.
I think it would be really interesting to study how these kind of storms impact all kinds of animal behavior and relations with each other.
It's such important work which will need to be continued by future generations.
The future of weather and future of these communities all unclear.
Tourism is the lifeblood of so many mountain counties, bringing in millions of tourists and millions of dollars.
When our special coverage continues, we conclude with the future of tourism up here.
Why so many communities want you to come and stay and spend. Welcome back, everyone. We're here in the Biltmore Village area of Asheville, not too far from the gate to the Biltmore Estate, which here almost 3 months after Helene still has a watermark about halfway up the gate. The estate, which brings in hundreds of thousands of visitors during the holidays, opened back up on November 2nd, just in time to celebrate the holidays. And the spirit of the holidays is still strong here. In fact, in the mountains, the smell of pine is never too far away.
Mostly because the western half of North Carolina produces about 20% of the nation's Christmas trees, including some important ones, like this year's official White House Christmas tree.
The North Carolina Christmas Tree Association says 940 farmers are growing more than 50 million trees across our state. The Fraser fir is the most dominant type. This year, it was the same kind sent to the White House and Governor's Mansion.
One of the best ways that we can support Western North Carolina is to spend our money there and to make sure that we are buying our Christmas trees and to make sure that we are making that little trip, drive in a few hours to make sure that we patronize these small businesses.
The tree at the rotunda of the state capitol is a 13-foot Fraser fir from Shepherd's Way Farms in Ashe County.
The official White House Christmas tree is an 18.5-foot Fraser fir from Cartner's Christmas Tree Farm in Avery County. This area and dozens like it across the mountains and the foothills are built on tourism.
From Christmas to leaves changing to summer fun of hiking and whitewater rafting, our state's mountains draw in tourists from around the world.
And now we take you to the community of Little Switzerland, an unincorporated area of McDowell and Mitchell counties. It takes a little bit more than an hour to get there from where we are here in Asheville.
There, Rose Eckler caught up with the owner of a family inn, which held on to the cliffs for nearly 100 years.
Now, his dream of owning the inn is on the rocks as the future of this sleepy spot for tourists is left in the debris and the mud.
It's just outside the heart of Little Switzerland, an inn with a history almost as long as its views. These breathtaking views show you Table Rock, among many other spots, bringing in people from all over the world. It's a spot that brings peace to many. This fire pit is still burning, with owner Carter Francois sitting in front of it with a neighbor. It's quiet, peaceful. If you look the right way, you can forget for a second what happened here just weeks ago.
And the building probably went all the way down just past that last flower pot there.
One of its 3 buildings, now a pile of rubble, full of memories.
The front door would have been to the lobby about right here.
The remnants of each room.
There's a pedestal chair, that's the lobby computer chair.
Chairs, dressers, splashed across the mountain.
All of a sudden, the building went pop and it leaned back.
Carter can't help but remember the vivid details of that night.
And when that storm started hitting, it actually blew out my bedroom window and glass went on me while I was laying in bed. And I thought I was having a nightmare. Then I woke up and I kind of realized I was living the nightmare.
A nightmare that started as a dream. The Alpine Inn opened nearly a century ago. It started as a souvenir and gas station, over the years evolving into a family destination.
The view has 65 to 70% of the reason, and I think the other 30 to 25% is that mom and pop feel that you get.
Sitting more than 3,000 feet above sea level, the cool temperatures help you snuggle in, a homey feeling that would keep people coming back time and time again. Owning this piece of mountain heaven became Carter Francois' dream. He used everything he had and bought it with cash 3 years ago. He planned out every detail except one.
We didn't really have a hurricane evacuation plan, not at 3,200 feet up here on the mountaintop.
Helene caught them all by surprise.
So it is absolutely pouring right now, anywhere from Rutherford County, McDowell County, Burke County,
leaving them scrambling for their lives. He got the guests and they came together in the building.
We rounded everybody up and stuck them in that building. It was blowing still, it was raining still, and the front door started not latching.
Still, something was wrong, so they moved to the building next to it.
I started hearing a pop, 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 which right behind us here, that was the road going, the asphalt leaving us, and because that started sliding first.
That's when the deck attached to the one they were previously in went tumbling down the mountain.
All these foundations are held together with big ship chains from like cargo ships, and they're attached to that mountain right there. So that's what was holding it.
The building they were in just 10 minutes before hit the ground.
I can see where we kept our frozen foods right there, the refrigerator.
Carter and the group huddled inside this old building, literally clinging to the side of a cliff.
Well, we were trapped because we had to leave our cars here because we were boxed in.
By the afternoon, they decided to leave and go to another hotel.
We looked like we just went through a war zone. We went through 2 mudslides, down power lines that you're not sure are live, telephone lines up and over trees. It took us 3 hours to go 1.2 miles.
Nancy Ricker was there.
I lost my shoes about 15 times. I mean, literally you'd step and the mud would just up to your knees.
She grew up at the Alpine Inn. Seeing it now is hard. The main building destroyed, the second condemned, and the third damaged.
People think that, oh, you can just, and everything's going to be fine again. No, nothing around here is ever going to be the way it was.
Carter says he poured all his life savings into the building.
Forced water inside here and pushed the roof or the ceiling down. I can't pay for it twice. I'm going to need help.
Still, he has hope.
It's down for the count for now, but I don't think we're out just yet.
Carter wants to come back. He believes this spot that brought joy to so many for nearly a century will see another sunrise.
And just another example of an uncertain future for so many of these business owners in these mountain communities.
They put everything they have into their dreams, and you just hope that things work out. That's obviously a very special spot, has been for decades and generations.
Well, state data shows that North Carolina has 43 million visitors in 2023, bringing in more than $35 billion in spending.
Nearly $3 billion of the spending was right here in Buncombe County, where we are now. The tourism industry here accounts for 29,000 jobs.
Many of these areas need people to come back after Helene ruined the leaf-changing season and led to hundreds of canceled events and trips.
So if you're considering a trip, check and make sure the area is welcoming visitors, and then come spend time and money here in Buncombe County or the High Country or wherever you'd like. People in many places will be happy to see you.
Usually at Christmas time, this area would be swarming with the twinkling smiles and happy laughs of families enjoying the lights.
But this year, people here in Asheville and in countless counties across the mountains are finding joy where they can, helping each other rebuild and get back on their feet.
And Spectrum News 1 will be with you through it all, sharing your stories.
We'll be looking for the stories of helpers and bringing you messages of hope. Thank you so much for joining us.
The resolve and the heart of these people is why we will never leave.
North Carolinians are resilient, and our response to this disaster is strong.
There's big hope for us. We're getting there.